appreciate it.
Your volume go up any? You're not getting to the back of the house.
No, was that loud enough? We really have to eat this microphone. I'm just warning everyone who's speaking today that it's basically up on your. Wait, we should get Clorox wipes actually. Can you get the Clorox wipes? Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to go. Welcome everyone. My name is Kelly Page and I'm the CEO of the Great Lakes Observing System. We're here today with our partners from Michigan Technological University's Great Lakes Research Center to celebrate the installation of the high frequency radar in the Great Lakes. Start off with a land acknowledgement because we are gathering on land originally inhabited by Anishinaabe people for millennia. Geologists have found Anishinaabe sites from 3000 BC, and oral history describes immigrants to and from lands of Native peoples are estimated to have occupied the Great Lakes Basin over the course of history to the present day, including Ottawa, Potawatomi, Ojibwa, Mohawk. Meeting today along the shores of the Straits of Mackinac in the traditional lands of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians, Traverse Band of Ottawa Indians. We acknowledge through acts of genocide and colonization, we have the opportunity to be here holding this event today. And of the past, we can commit to doing better now and in the future. In the spirit, we are celebrating the introduction of this high frequency radar monitoring technology as a tool for us to use in improving safety in the Straits. Public monitoring data empowers all of us when we are able to understand what's going on and act in an informed manner. And we hope that through continuous monitoring and information sharing, we can help empower more stewards to care for the Great Lakes for future generations. Today, the Great Lakes joins an international network of approximately and 30 institutions that provide monitoring, which can be used during search and rescue operations, to monitor movement of hazardous spills or harmful algae blooms, understand how water moves through complex waterways like in the Straits of Mackinac. The Great Lakes are an important natural resource, serving as the source of drinking water for over 40 million people. But unfortunately, even today in 2022, we have major gaps in our understanding of the changing conditions and the emerging threats to the health and safety of our lakes. For instance, this summer, there have already been 33 drowning deaths in Lake Michigan, the highest in any year since 2013. Earlier this June, 5,300 gallons of oil from a steel plant were spilled into the St. Mary's River. And it's critical that we invest in the tools necessary to properly monitor and mitigate these emergencies. And better yet, proactively prepare, adapt, and safeguard against emergencies of the future. HF radar is a useful technology applied across the country for measuring surface currents in the ocean. But for a long time, so that it wasn't an option for use in the Great Lakes because of the freshwater environment. We're going to hear today from Guy and Laurel Meadows, who did the critical research to understand the potential application of this technology in the Great Lakes and identified the Straits of Mackinac as an ideal location. There's an obvious and important need for surface current monitoring in the Straits, and it meets the geographic prerequisites to accommodate the technology. Today, we are showcasing how collaboration helps elevate the profile of our monitoring, science, and information needs in the region. If not for the persistence of MTU and GLOS and the initial investment from NOAA, this resource might not be available to the Great Lakes. And so this event celebrates the partnership, ingenuity, and dedication that is required to help fill information gaps and help us be smarter observers and support data-driven decision-making. We are delighted to welcome all our guests today, those here that have helped make this event possible. And we're going to ask some of our partners and stakeholders to come up and give remarks. I'll call each person up and do a quick introduction, and then we'll have a demo from our partners at Michigan Tech. So I'm going to get a Clorox wipe to wipe this microphone. And I'm going to ask Wayne Schmidt, who represents Michigan's 37th district, to come up and also give a welcome.
I'm okay.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me okay? Good, good. I'm going to be the old 3 Bs, be brief, be good, be gone, because I know I have our federal partners here. Very much. Of course, I for city, the Straits up all the way to the Sioux is my district. Couldn't be more excited to be here. The partnerships that we have with NOAA and Michigan Tech to do the technical side of things, along with the DNR and Deagle, however we pronounce it there. Great organizations at the state, the funding from the feds couldn't be better. Our partnerships with the Coast Guard, thank you for being here, Lieutenant Commander. Our partnership with the Mackinac Bridge Authority, I see a number of folks here. Everyone has made this possible. And to have the first high frequency radar here in the Straits, such a critical water is amazing. And so with that, again, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for all of your time and effort to protect our Great Lakes, my home area. I know Representative DeMoose is here. I appreciate his partnership to make sure that we protect the Straits of Mackinac. With that, Kelly, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you here, and I'll let the program go on.
All right, next we have from Representative Bergman, Rossway. For the past 3 years, Rich has been the Upper Peninsula Director Liaison, or District Liaison, I'm sorry, for Congressman Bergman. Prior to that, he served with the 110th State Representative Greg Mark as his constituent director. In the past, Rich served on the Marquette Brownfield Authority Board for 8 years as vice chair, the Marquette Smart Zone Board for 6 years, and on the Marquette Area Public School Board of Education for 21 years. Rich?
Should have said the one other thing that you remind me of today. I forget your name, works for the Bridge Authority, but she used to work for Governor Schneider. And when she saw me today, she was like, "Didn't you run for the one?" So yeah, and I lost, but thanks for bringing that up. Working for the congressman. So, on behalf of the congressman, thanks so much for having us here to say a couple of words. He's in DC right now. He's got boats on the floor of the House. And I think I kind of got a better deal here with the Straits of Mackinac and this wonderful. I might have to bug him a little bit about, I get to do great things with the congressman. Only going to say a few words. And one thing the congressman always likes to talk about is the bipartisan work, the working across the aisle that happens in our House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. Sometimes we don't see that with the publicity, but it's something that happens every day. And I think this collaboration here with so many entities, with Michigan Tech's Research Center and IOOS and Viking and the Coast Guard, the Bridge Authority, it's made this happen today to be able to implement this new system that's going to be safe for our waterways. So it reminds me when we just up the road here with the Sioux Locks, Congressman was very involved in that, and that could have never passed without bipartisan support with Senator Peters, Senator Stabenow, the congressman too, to get that money for the locks, and so we're very happy with that and happy to be a part of that. So Congressman always like to talk about, we need to find common ground for the common good of everybody. And just great to be here today. Congratulations on a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, Gary Peters staff, we have Kelly Lively and Aubrey Moore. Kelly Lively is the North Michigan Regional Director for Gary Peters and has been with Senator Peters for nearly 4 years. Prior to working for the senator, she was for the Cherry Capital Foods in Traverse City, working to build local food systems and farm to school programs around the state. Aubrey Moore is the Upper Peninsula Regional Director for Gary Peters and has served in the office for just over a year. Prior to the community, Kelly and Aubrey.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here on behalf about safety in the Straits. As the Upper Peninsula Regional Director, I represent a region that is surrounded by 3 of the 5 Great Lakes and relies on them for many things, including as economic drivers, opportunities for world-class outdoor recreation, and a resource for some of the best whitefish around. However, the Great Lakes are more than just an economic engine and resource. They are simply in our DNA as Michiganders. Kelly and I represent 2 of the regions of Michigan that surround the Straits and know how vital it is to protect our freshwater resources. The Great Lakes contain 20% of the world's fresh water and provide drinking water to more than 40 million people, as Katie said. There's no question an oil spill in the Great Lake in the Straits of Mackinac would have catastrophic and long-term consequences to the economic and environmental health of Michigan and the Great Lakes. Having high-value water data from this project will only increase our ability to protect Michigan's water resources and Great Lakes communities. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kelly to talk a little bit more.
And so I'll just fill you in a little bit about some of the work of the senator. In Michigan, we unfortunately already know the consequences of an oil spill following the Enbridge disaster in Kalamazoo and in the Kalamazoo River and what that has cost our state. And in order to safeguard our state and our waters, Senator has introduced many packages of bills in the Great Lakes to shut the line down through the Straits, and when the waves hit a certain height, which this kind of data will really make. And the senator we talk about is a guy we know well how bipartisan he likes to work. He always comes with a Republican on all of his bills, and he led a bipartisan effort to require that the Great Lakes region environmental sensitivity impact maps be updated for the first time in over 2 decades, and that was signed into law early last year. Senator Peters is so pleased that this legislation is now law because it will help provide scientists and researchers resources to protect our Great Lakes. And as he likes to say, we must do everything possible to protect our Great Lakes and support the businesses that rely on them. The senator will continue to work to protect them for future generations and heartily congratulates the Great Lakes Research Center on this accomplishment. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Up next, we have Brian Slinky from the IUCE office. Since 2020, Brian Slinky has been the Surface Current Program Manager for NOAA in its Integrated Ocean Observing System, or IUCE office. As part of his role, he is the program and technical lead for the U.S. High Frequency Radar Network. The Coastal HF Radar National Network data provides near real-time maps of surface current velocities, which are critical information to support U.S. emergency response, marine oil spill trajectory, balloon tracking, navigation, ecosystem-based management, and coastal and marine spatial planning.
Thank you. I will try the microphone here, and maybe this can inform whether or not any of the other speakers wish to use it. Thank you for that introduction, Kelly. So as you mentioned, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and its Integrated Ocean Observing System, or IOOS office, where I get to be the Surface Currents Program Manager. And what that means is I get to lead the national network of over 160 systems, just like really near and dear to grew up near the shores of Lake Michigan. This is, as Kelly mentioned before, the first here in the Great Lakes. Since some of the other speakers have so eloquently talked about some of the uses, for you for just a moment to talk about this and how it can do all of those great uses. Systems send out a little pulse very quickly of radio waves, and it gets scattered off of the waves in the lake. And it's from that echo that they can measure two things: the speed and direction of ocean surface currents, the velocity of them, and it can also measure. Beyond that, it can do that at hundreds of points simultaneously. Field of 500 buoys sitting out there, each with its own little current meter and each with its own wave sensor, to kind of get the information that this site and its partner across the straits are able to put together. It's from those velocity measurements and those wave measurements that we can do things like predict the trajectory, something like a floating oil spill or a person in a life jacket, or even a ship that's lost propulsion would take, so that our colleagues at the United States Coast Guard can use their Search and Rescue Optimal Planning System, or SAROPS, who these data feed, along with others like our Emergency Response Division and NOAA, to try to predict the trajectory of those floating objects and bring it to a safe and healthy resolution. So when I look at this system compared to the other 160 that I get to manage, I'm particularly proud that we were able to bring this innovation here to the Great Lakes as well. This signal propagates a little bit better over saltwater than it does with freshwater, but it's really credit to Guy Meadows and his team at system like this. People. And Great Lakes Observing System, one of our regional associations of IUs, to help in partnership for the funding and also applications of these data. And I'd like to close by thanking all of the people in attendance here for your support of this system and the great work that all those in attendance here have done, and for your support of our integrated ocean observing system. Well,
Thank you, Brian. So it was brought to my attention that actually we have State Representative John Domus here today. Would you like to come up and say?
Only because Bill just asked me to. You don't need to hear it. Who is not awed by this scene? Amazing. And so I'm so proud to play even a tiny little role, not necessarily in this, my role with trying to help the bridge out here with group. Make the tunnel safer, or the pipeline safer through the tunnel. We're trying to make the water safer through this project here. And I just think help you, because you're the ones doing the work. We could either get in the way or we can make this stuff easier. And I hope to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So thank you. And what a miraculously beautiful day to be sitting out here celebrating a program like this. Thank you.
Isn't it? All right. Debbie Leaf, who's the director of the Great Lakes Environmental Research Lab, NOAA's lab in Ann Arbor, conducting. Representing the agency capabilities across the region. In water resource engineers. She is past president of the Environmental Water Resources Institute, representing 20,000 water resource professionals. Debbie?
And thank you for inviting me here today for this commissioning of the first our system in the Great Lakes. Is a perfect to bring this new radar system into being to help protect this very environmentally sensitive strait, an important waterway that's a connector between Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. We have here today a prime example of a lot of these collaborations. Recognizing MTU, who is a critical partner with us in working with the other academic institutions here to bring these things to fruition. We are but to this ship that not only serves to carry customers and people on their expeditions, their guests, but also a fully outfitted science vessel. It contains a 6-person submersible, a full wet lab. It has Zodiacs and 2 40-foot expedition boats. And we've been working with them to place an atmospheric profiling balloon on the top so that the Weather Service now has atmospheric profiles on the water where we've not had that before. We've only had them on the land. They'll be bringing in their sister ship, the Polaris, to the Great Lakes next year. And we're working with them as well to outfit science on those ships. And this radar system will help their ships, as well as all the other ships in the Great Lakes, transit the straits safely. We know how tricky the currents are, how difficult they are to navigate. Now they have the information that they need to do that safely. I'd also like to recognize our Coast Guard Peter staff for creating the National Expertise for Oil Spill Preparedness and Response. Senator Peter has placed half of that at Lake Superior State and also half at the Great in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which, by the way, also hosts the Great Lakes Observing System in that facility as well. So it's become a regional center for NOAA. And we're very proud of the fact that we can bring in all of these collaborative partners to address issues such as oil spill research, especially oil spill under ice, that now we have a radar that can help us with that, and to be able to share that information with others. In closing, Dr. Spinrad, our administrator, always says, you don't have to choose between healthy ecosystems and healthy economies. In fact, they go hand in hand. And here's an example of how we work together collaboratively to achieve that vision for all of us. So thank you very much.
Appointed president in July 2018, bringing 30 years of higher education experience to the role. In 2015, he was named and provost of Louisiana State University. And after serving as dean of the LSU College of Engineering, he also worked at head of Pennsylvania State University's Harold Science. President Kovac.
So as John mentioned, when you're sitting, but when I look at that, it's juxtaposed to what I see when I walk around our campus in Houghton. When you go into the Great Lakes Research Center and you talk to the faculty, you might see a computer simulation of what might be. Or when you go into their lab, it looks kind of like some duct tape and wire together of what this might actually be. But today we actually get to see what it's become. What excites me about being at Michigan, an idea. And watching that progress from, like I said, a computer model to a jury-rig thing sitting in a lab to this. And that's the beauty of a collaboration in a university, is that we and will help development chain to end up with such a great asset. It's truly exciting and gratifying for us at Michigan. The many years, Guy's going to talk now. I came up, but I don't want to get thank you, Guy and Laurel. Center. So thank you very much.
So, has recently retired as the founding dean of the Palvis Honors College at Michigan University of Michigan as environment. In this area.
Laurel. She tested positive this morning in tough break, and I know she really wants to be here. For her, this has been a very, very long journey. As President Kobach properly explained, 1997, part of a team at the University of Michigan asked in one of the first high frequency radars. It was a part of a National Science Foundation large grant to several universities across the Lake Michigan basin to try and better understand episodic events that occur in the lake and how from those events, whether that's a big windstorm or meteor tsunami, how important materials and sediments are transported across the coast. Well, her part of that was to develop this early stage high frequency radar. And those of you that know Laurel, she tends to be an overachiever. So rather than doing it at one frequency, intersecting two radar beams, as Brian was describing, she did it at 4. So not one single component of the wave field, but it was work. Was part of this big episodic was and the results of that were to come. But how does that compare with saltwater propagation? That at the end of that, then, again, we were hopeful that NOAA would recognize that even though we only propagate out to 20 kilometers over freshwater, that would be useful. But NOAA came back to her in 2010 and said, you didn't use commercial radar. You used a fancy special made radar. So can you do it all over again with a commercial radar? So we did. And thank you again, Kodar. And Hardik, where are you? Raise your hand. Hardik back there. He gets the award for traveling the furthest, coming from California to be here today, and is one of the seniors at Kodar sensor systems there that produces these radars for all of our coastlines. And so she did it again, and she did it with a Kodar and got the same answers. And again, we were very hopeful that that would convince NOAA that this is an important technology for the Great Lakes. She kind of gave up on that after working on it for so long, and went into administration, and you heard the story. But finally, you cannot imagine she was when Kelly Page came to her, because Kelly never gave up the torch and pushed this. So thank you, Kelly, for your dedication to the Great Lakes on this. Came to her in 2018 and said, the Straits of Mackinac is the place. We're going to do this, and we're going to prove to NOAA that it actually does work. So that's what brought us here today. So, and these are her, this is important. I read this section. This is what she feels. She wants to revise the statement on the IOS website that says, quote, IOS HF radars are located in nearly every coastal state on the continental USA, as well as Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico. Nearly. Well, nearly is except the Great Lakes states until now. So today we are one step closer to being able to remove that word nearly from the IOS language. So we're very proud to have this here. And as you might guess, it has taken an army of people to make this happen. One other quote from the Mackinac Bridge Authority, who has been a tremendous partner in this, says on their website, if you provide a connection, people will use it. Well, we have created a different type of connection here to protect this waterway and how important it is to the state. So we believe that we are leading in the process, again, to bring people and the lake closer together. Many people need to be thanked for this, and I'd like to call them out right now. We have, as Kelly said, we have turned this over to Tim Havens, new director of the Great. Tim. All right, thank you. Michelle Crook from DNR has been extremely helpful through this whole process in tree that's required to make this work here in the Great Lakes. Julie Neff and Kim Novak, raise your hands. Both chief engineers of the bridge and Michigan Tech alum, I might point out, were extremely helpful in making this beautiful facility available for one of our stations. And since we have NOAA people here, the Bridge Authority, the governing board has already approved their land use for the second set looking the other way on the other side of the bridge. So thanks to from the Mackinac State Historic Island State Park Commission, sponsored the site opportunity to use their land next to the historic park that was of this quality too. Dylan, are you here? Did you make it? Our Brothers is the local contractor that did the site work, and you can see that they've done a tremendous job sites working under some very strict requirements. I'd like to thank the Great Lakes Research Center and the technical team there for all the support it took to put this all together and make it happen. And special thanks to Kodar ocean sensors and the work that they put together to get eyes that our environment goes from 20 below zero in the winter to over 100 degrees in the summer. So the environmental enclosures, special modifications specifically for this site. Funding again, Gloss and IUS, thank you so much. This is an important step. And thanks to the state of Michigan, Eagle in particular for kicking in financial, like the site work and the modification.
Such a great story. Thank you so much, Guy. All right, up next we have Trisha Kinley, who's been a member of the Mackinac Bridge Authority Board since December of 2018. Prior to retiring in 2020, Trisha spent over 20 years. Trisha?
So I'll go without, unless you can't hear me, but thank you so much for the whole Mackinac Bridge Authority Board. We are just delighted to be here and delighted to have participated in this. And thanks to all the rest of you for vantage point that's a little different. First, I will share with you, some of you may not know really who is Bridge Authority Board. Bridge Authority. It just shows you the members to not only the bridge, but the health and the well-being of the Straits. But critically, we couldn't do anything without the real workers going on. And here we have staff here that are critical key staff, just a few of them. Kim Nowak is our bridge director, Julie Neff, our chief engineer, Cammie Hansen, who is our CFO, and Mike Booby, who is our operations manager. And they're the ones, along with their respective teams, really doing the work to keep that bridge in the top condition that it is. So but the Mackinac Bridge Authority is very happy to partner with Michigan Tech at this strategic location to make important use of this equipment, as well as to participate in this first operational freshwater installation of, I'll use HFR, the lingo, radar in the US and Great Lakes. In fact, when the board heard from Guy Meadows about this and his Michigan Tech team, the board voted unanimously to approve the radar installation after that first presentation. It was an easy decision, and it was for a variety of, such as, what you might not know is that the Bridge Authority conducts underwater inspections of all of the piers of the bridge every 5 years. So knowing more about the currents will provide those underwater inspection teams. We want them to be as safe as possible. That data could help immensely, will help. And also, the Bridge Authority safety boat is out on the water every day. There are maintenance workers out there, which obviously in the summer and spring and fall, a lot of times, and probably even in the winter when they can get through on the water. But having those currents mapped and that data provided just increases the safety in both regards. Also, understanding the currents will help provide safer boat navigation around the piers, which probably goes without saying, but it's important we make sure vessels are not coming close to the piers for the safety and the maintenance of the bridge. Person or vessel trying to navigate the straits. We know those winds can change quickly, and along with it, the currents. We also hope that learning how the bridges in the straits impacts the currents will be useful knowledge to share in future bridge to be that kind of pathway for other people to learn from. Finally, we look forward to our continued partnership with Michigan Tech in constructing an educational display in the Bridgeview Park building and in that future installation of more radar equipment as mentioned on the east side of the bridge. So thank you again for having us.
Thank you so much. It's Mr. Tim Havens. He's the director of Michigan Tech's Great Lakes Research Center and Institute of Computing and Cyber Systems. He's also the William and Gloria Jackson Professor in ECE and Computer Science. Tim's research recognition and machine fusion. Prior to his current positions, he was an NSF CRA computer post Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Michigan State.
So David is going to bring up everybody for being here. Thanks to all of our partners. Thanks, of course, to the bit about the Great Lakes Research Center, which you've heard about from a few of the speakers. The Great Lakes Research Center at Michigan radar systems, but for a much more what I would call a feel-good reason. So weather events that they go back and forth. We, as one of the other speakers pointed out, measure the currents at just one. What we have been able to show is that those buoy currents and HF radar currents actually bring you to the data viewer on the UGloss website, which will show the real-time data that's HF radar right now. And that is that all these scientists that want to learn more about what's happening with currents in these types of aquatic systems, to policymakers that want to determine how to make decisions about what's going on here, to search and rescue, to emergency responders, to all kinds of disasters that could possibly happen in our aquatic waterways. And so with that, thank you so much for coming out to join us and listen to and celebrate Guy and Laurel's wonderful accomplishment here. And just I'd like to give everybody a round of applause as part of this program.
Our program for the day. Photographer taking pictures of the radar or getting a nice scenic picture with the bridge behind you. So feel free to grab him. Free to come up and take a look at the screen closely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're representing station downtown or.
Exactly. Right.
Sorry. I think on this program is handed out. It's still a little, I guess they go over the QR code that you can use. Yeah, I think it's the same. On the back. There's some on the back desk.
Okay.
And,
That's
Okay, I'm glad about that. I saw you back there. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's not clutches if you can already think about. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we gotta hear from it all. Yeah. Yeah, good. They usually, that kind of audience usually does, and I like to talk to them. We share the interest in geeky things like that. Yeah. Spell a few books. Yeah, we need to do that. Thanks so much for going up there. All right. All right. I did up here.
I sent a suggest comments. Oh, yeah. Okay. I will send it directly to you so they can actually. So.
Having such a.
So you're doing the look. So I did. I said, suggested. But I think. They have. By video. By video. It's yeah. So they predict whether staff you know they talk about how to have yeah, so and again, yeah, so and again, there's a suggestion. Part of it talks about, you know, what we do. And I kept really challenging. I was like, hey, thanks. Legislature, you know, agree, faculty stay out. You know, and so I asked Dave for like, yeah, he'll be there. He'll be back, and I got like 5 pages of like data. And I'm like, that's great, but I'm not an engineer. Yes, yours were spot on. So essentially, you know, if you like what I said, or I can modify it, and then, so, yeah, so a lot of the show is, it starts at 12:30. It starts at 12:30. Your comments are one.
Picture with you.